let's see how that works. It has problems. Hello, people of the internet, and welcome to Topher Parker, which is a channel where we buy and review broken Hooptie cars that like to leak oil and coolant. Today, however, it's going to be a little bit different. Today we've got a full fleet update for you guys. So I'm going to be giving you an update on all 3 cars that I own. Here's how it's going to work. I'm going to introduce the car, I'm going to talk about the last update I did, and then I'm going to update you some more, and then we're going to hop behind the wheel. And yes, I did say 3 cars, and some of our more eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that there are only 2 cars parked here. The third one is broken and unable to move more than a mile without overheating, and that's up at my parents' house, so we're going to take a look at that last. But how about we start off with the car that started it all, my 2005 BMW 325 Xi. Say hello once again to my 2005 BMW E46. This is my first car that I purchased with my own money. I purchased it on June 10th, 2019 for $2,800 at around 160,000 miles. It's at 178,000 miles now, and after 18,000 miles, I still don't really see any good reason to get rid of it. It's been fantastic in the snow, it's been reliable for the most part, it's luxurious, it's got a great sound system, silky smooth BMW 6-cylinder, I'm sorry, but it's a very nice smooth engine. You can unfortunately tell that it's running by feel if, let's say you didn't put the oil cap on all the way and it caused all 6 cylinders to misfire. Do not ask me how I know this. But overall, in my 18,000 miles with this car, I absolutely love it. It's an amazing first car, and I still, despite all the issues that this car has given me, I cannot recommend enough. This is the perfect first car for a high schooler or a college student that wants something that's a little bit more premium, a little bit nicer, that isn't just a junky old Toyota Camry that's $3,000 to $4,000. You want something engaging, fun to drive, good in the snow, fun in the snow. This is the car that you want. But let's walk around the BMW and remind ourselves what makes this car so special. Walking around the BMW, even in its currently slightly dirty state, you wouldn't really be able to tell that this car has done 178,000 miles. It's actually quite amazing. There's a bit of, I wanted to show you this faded spot on the paint, but there is residue from when I cleared up the headlights a couple weeks ago. So that's showing up a lot, but when this isn't here, it's just this spot that's a little faded. 178,000 miles. I've seen cars with 50,000 miles less than this that were in far worse condition. A couple cosmetic things to address, but overall, I mean, look at the way the jet black paint reflects on a beautiful day like today. It really is amazing, and it really does look good. Now, I did polishing, clay barring, and waxing on this car to make it look good, so I know I kind of sound like I'm bragging a lot when I say this, but it's not me trying to brag, it's more me just being amazed at how well this car's paint has held out after 16 years and so many miles. One worrying piece of the body work that I'll show you is this rust spot developing right here. And if we look down here, even more concerning if you know my history with cars, that's bubbling and there's a bit of rust underneath it. There's also some imperfection in the paint up here and scratches. When you zoom out, it looks good, but those of you who know my previous history with BMWs and with rust would know that that scares me. I hate rust. So we've talked about this car a little bit now, but I think it's time to give you some more updates on how this car has been doing the past couple months since my last update on it by taking a drive. It's a bit cloudy today, but The weather is so nice. It's like 65 degrees. It's amazing. So I think we're gonna go with the windows down. Oh yeah, look at that. Hold on a second. That's odd for an E46. That window didn't go down all the way. Let's have a look over here. That's really odd. It's an E46 and the window won't go up. Ooh. Yeah. Here. Okay, so I've just turned this car on for the first time in 8 days, and I've got a traction control warning light, a brake warning light, an ABS warning light, and an airbag warning light. So welcome back home, right? This has happened before. Oh yeah, see, the lights just turned off. So sometimes the car will just be mad at me for some reason and then turns on those lights because it's mad, and they turn off after a little bit. It is now pouring rain. Ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching the road. So we're gonna actually be able to see how this car drives, which is important when you're a professional car journalist like I am. So we're gonna see what we can do. What's happened ever since the last update video I did on this car, where we were replacing a bunch of different things, the CVV, some stuff. That was my chance. Here we go, on the road. All right. So in the last update, we had this car apart. We were working on some things, trying to get it to stop burning oil, trying to get this weird power draw issue that I was dealing with out of the way, and just clear up some vacuum leaks while we were in there. And I'm delighted to say that it's worked. I mean, this car drives perfectly now. It barely ever puts smoke out of the back, blue smoke, which is great. It has done it like once or twice. We're gonna choose to ignore that. But pretty much as soon as that update came out, I was driving along, the car was doing great. And then all of a sudden, the fan stopped working, the cooling fan. So the car was great, and it worked great, and it drove great as long as you weren't stopped for any period of time. As soon as you stop, the temperature gauge, I broke down several times with this issue. So what we did was we brought the car back in the garage, we gave it a new coolant and expansion tank bottle thing, a new fan, and a new radiator, and we put new coolant in it and everything. And then the worst, most irritating air bubble I have ever experienced ensued, where the car probably broke down like 8-10 more times after that. And I finally told my dad, I basically just said, the car isn't fixed, like it's still overheating, I don't know what's going on. And he's like, I'm gonna put a little bit more water in it. I had been putting water in it, by the way. That's when that stupid air bubble finally went away. And ever since then, it's been totally perfect. I mean, it's been driving totally fine. It's, at the moment, I think it's, out of all three of my cars, it's in the best mechanical shape, but it has problems. That window, it still smells like burning oil sometimes, not nearly as much as the Subaru, but it does still burn oil. I've got an airbag light, which must have something to do with this new steering wheel. There must be some sort of connection that went bad because none of the buttons work. That's the horn. You should be hearing me honking like a maniac, but it's not working. The volume isn't working. Nothing on this steering wheel is working. Whoa! I did have an intermittent airbag light before, which was due to some faulty wiring underneath the passenger seat, which is still a problem. But now I have an even bigger issue, which is the driver's airbag isn't working. The Subaru also has an airbag light, I forgot to mention. So if I got into an accident in any of my cars, my most safe bet is the car that I can't even drive. But in terms of driving experience compared to the Subaru and the Land Rover, the Subaru is the one that puts smiles on your face, makes you laugh, it's fun, it's fast, it's cool. Where does the BMW fit in comparison to that? I'll tell you exactly where it fits in. It's just relaxing. It's just a great daily driver. It's got a manual transmission. Yeah, third gear, there we go. So it's still more engaging to drive than the Subaru. It's still fun to drive, but despite the fact that the rear shocks and springs are bad, which is another thing I need to do, it's a bit more comfortable than the Subaru. It's smoother than the Subaru and the Land Rover. It's quieter than the Subaru. Jeez, this is not a good road to drive on. It's just more relaxing. It's more luxurious. Like I said, it's got a better sound system. It's safer when the airbags are working. And overall, I mean, out of all three other cars, the one that I would buy again in a heartbeat, it would easily be the BMW. I mean, not even a question. This car is bumpy, but really, really amazing as a daily driver. And I really, really love it. That's fourth gear. I mean, that's flooring it in fourth gear. It really doesn't do much. 184 horsepower. It does definitely feel like 43 horsepower less than the Subaru, and heavier than Subaru. It's nowhere near as quick, but it still can haul a little bit. That's flooring it in second. And the 4Runner in front of me is going 15 below the speed limit, but you heard it a little bit. It sounded pretty good. It's got a good sound, and it's just when I'm driving it, I don't frankly feel bothered to accelerate in it that much. I mean, it's just a good, relaxing daily driver, and that's the whole point of this car. But come winter time, I'll show you guys that this car is so much fun in the snow. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of fun. It's stupid fun in the snow. I would never be able to sell this car just because of how fun it is in the snow. So we'll have to see when winter comes around. But anyway, I've been talking about this car for 10 whole minutes. Incoming transition. Go! The BMW has switched its headlights on. But we're not talking about the BMW anymore. We're talking about my new Subaru. This is the highest mileage car in my fleet. It has 187,000 miles, just clicked over today. And once again, as with the BMW, when you look around, it's kind of hard to tell. Part of that must have to do with the silver paintwork. When you look around the car, you do see a couple issues, namely the door handles. You see that? I forgot to show you that in the last video. And on this side, these pillars also faded, but I've got new ones for right here. A couple imperfections there on the bumper, as you can see, but other than that, for 187,000 miles, I'd expect worse, especially from a Subaru and especially from an Impreza WRX. You never see these things in stock, clean form like you do this one right here anymore. This car is on its third engine, apparently. WRXs are universally known to have engine problems. I'm not really sure why. I haven't done much research on it, and I don't know a lot about these cars right here, but you see a lot of WRXs with item descriptions listing needs new engine, head gasket blown, etc. on used car websites. But hopefully this one right here will not be one of those. Let's just have another look inside the Subaru. It's got these fantastic sporty buckety type seats with, I think this is nylon material. And on the door panels, these seats are very, very comfortable, but when you get inside the car, you do notice a lot of cheap looking, crappy plastic up on here. Look at this cup holder, guys. That's how I get it out. It is certainly an afterthought. But if you think that cup holder's bad, yeah. It does fit a lot more than you'd expect. I've been very impressed by how much this cup holder actually fits. It is a bit of a cheap feeling interior in here, but it's not bad. I mean, I like the material on the seats and the door panels, but that kind of distracts you from the cheap feel of everything else in here. A lot of these cars are owned and driven. How much noise do you have to make? A lot of these cars are owned and driven by guys my age, and typically what guys my age like to do is fit a bunch of girls in the bag. So let's see how that works. Okay, that was odd. Moving on, most of the girls that are around my age typically aren't 6'3" like I am, but this is really the ultimate test of how much can you fit back here, and the answer is oh god. Yeah, it's not a very roomy. Oh, I pulled a muscle in my foot. This is only really meant for kids, but you can fit shorter people back here if you absolutely have to. I just gotta get myself out. Whew. And yes, as you saw earlier, the door locks in this car are acting really weird. It started with this door. I noticed this morning it was on the driver's door this happened, and on the trunk when I came out after class, so we'll have to see what that develops into, what kind of fun electrical stuff we're gonna be doing. I'm not looking forward to it. Hopefully everything will be fine. Well, I think that's enough walking around and showing you the car. How about we hop in and take a quick drive? Whee! All right. This is going to be more of a short drive because not much really has happened with this car ever since I bought it a month ago. It still burns oil like crazy, which I'm worried about. Other than the constant burning oil smell, which is very concerning to me. It's definitely quicker than my other cars. Like I said, it's got a rough idle. Sometimes it burns a lot of oil, but really it's just been trucking along. It's been totally fine. When you smell the burning oil and you feel the rough idle, you worry about this car and you're like, oh man, there's something wrong with this car, I'm worried about it. And then you hit the accelerator and then that turbo pushes you back in your seat, and then the worries are just gone. But as soon as you stop again, the worries are back. When you get out of the car, the worries are back. I'm worried about this car. We'll have to see just how reliable it is in the coming months. Like I said, I mean, there's not much of an update with this car. I just bought it. One more time before we switch to the other cars, let's just give it some gas here. It makes me feel like a little kid. It's amazing. I mean, this car puts a smile on my face better than the other cars do. Just no question. I mean, it's so much more fun to drive, and it's so much cooler, and it makes me feel just happy. I mean, it's a bucket list car for me. I've always wanted a WRX, so I can definitely say so far, without any context of reliability issues, this lives up to the hype. These are really, really good cars. It's a new day. I was going to film the Freelander update, but the weather turned nasty, so I couldn't really do it outside. It's actually more like 2 weeks later, but we'll gloss over that. Anyways, yes, the Freelander, the last car to update you guys on. And you can notice the setting. It's parked inside a garage, which leads me into some bad news, which is that this car is dead once again. It's got a leaking head gasket. It made 3,000 miles. Now somehow coolant is leaking into the combustion chamber again. We think maybe we didn't tighten the head bolts enough. That's like a best case scenario. Worst case scenario is that we just need to replace the head gaskets again, which is a really, really irritating, really difficult job. We're gonna get it all torn apart again, which I'm really not looking forward to, because I was planning on driving this car. This was gonna be my winter daily. I was really looking forward to seeing how this car was gonna do in the snow. Every day it was gonna be my winter car, and now it's probably gonna be in here for the entire winter. That's where this car sits right now. As we look around the Freelander, you can sort of tell even in the garage light that it's been sitting outside for some amount of time because I haven't been able to drive it because it won't go more than a mile without overheating. So it's got bird crap all over it. This was already all faded before, so don't worry about that. But this is starting to peel off, which wasn't before, and it just looks really sad. If I walk around to the front, the headlights are looking like they're starting to get foggy again. I've got a completely flat tire on the front, but it's in the garage, which hopefully is a good sign. That means we'll actually get started on getting this thing back on the road. And then after that, I'm thinking maybe another cool off-road road trip because that was really fun. And I don't know, after that, maybe I'll get rid of it. Maybe I'll do stuff to it. I really don't know. At this point, we're gonna have to see how enjoyable this fixing the car process ends up being. But hey, you know what? Why don't we give it one last fire up before we start tearing it apart? Let's see how it's running. I don't know if it's even gonna bother trying to start, but here we go. When it starts up, it has a pretty nasty misfire, which we figured out what that is, and we're gonna take it off when we're tearing the whole engine apart anyways, so we just need to remember to put a new one back on, a new part. I can't exactly remember what the name of the part was, but I'll detail it in the next update on this car. And the revs hanging a bit, it still has that glorious sounding exhaust leak. And yeah, it sounds terrible, but it's still in somewhat of a running state, so maybe that's a good sign. That's going to be the end of the video, so take it away, Topher from the past. As always, I want to thank everybody who clicked on the video and came to hang out and watch me go on and on about the 3 biggest financial mistakes I've made in my entire life. Oh, sorry, I mean my cars. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe and do all that stuff. Bye-bye.